Afternoon and good evening to the students, depending from where you are joining us for this live webinar session of performance management. Welcome to this webinar. My name is Richa and I work as Education Support Manager at ACCA. So our session today is designed to support you with this paper, Performance Management, where our expert tutor will share his insights to help you with the preparation for exam. And this webinar will cover December 23 examiner's report, what the examiners have observed. He will talk about it using some technical examples from this past exam and giving quick tips which will further help you during your exam practice. So you will have an opportunity to ask questions live. The expert will provide answers to the most asked questions from the students. And I'm very pleased to be joined by expert tutor Steve Willis. Before I hand over to Steve, I would like to cover a few housekeeping items very quickly. At the bottom of your screen, there are a number of buttons you can use. There is a help icon on the left which provides resources and information to help you resolve any technical issues you might experience. Icons for the slides and media player are there. You will need to see both of these during the webinar, so make sure you have selected them. There is attendee chat function, so you can engage yourself with fellow webinar attendees, and that is the icon on the right hand side. You may also be asked by the tutor to put some feedbacks into the attendee chat, so that's also the place which you can make use of. Then there is a resource list. If you click on this, you will be able to access the resources relevant to today's webinar, including the direct links. You can arrange your screen to suit you and resize the windows if need be. And at any point, if you cannot hear what we are saying or you cannot see any visuals, please refresh your browser. And registering for this session means that you will be sent an email tomorrow with the details of how you can listen to it again. So don't worry. If you miss something, you would, or do you have any technical issues, you will be able to access the recording of the session. So I'm going to hand over to Steve in a moment and we'll be back with you towards the end of the session. So if you like to ask ACCA or Steve any question, please click on Q&A button, which is the middle icon at the bottom of your screens. Please note we cannot guarantee responding to each and every question directly, but we hope that the questions we share will be helpful to everyone. Handing over to Steve now.
Thank you, Richa. Great. Hello, friends. Hello, performance management rock stars. Great to be here with you. We have 1 hour together. My objective, help you get a pass. If we have not met before on other webinars and videos, my name is Steve. I'm an ACCA member. I've been helping people like you for a long time around the world. And we're here today to get you a pass. Let's jump right in. I would like you all to find for me the attendee chat window. Please give me a hello message there. Tell me where you're coming in from. I'm coming to you guys from Central Europe, from this country of Czech Republic, from the beautiful city of Prague. Where are you guys? You guys are going to tell me where you're coming in from in the attendee chat window. We've got England in the house, Botswana. I will be in Africa next month. Looking forward to my trip there. London, England, Ireland, South Africa, Pakistan. What an international crew we are today. Cyprus, India. Hello, guys. Great to be here with you. Now, let's just clarify. If you have any specific technical questions for me, please use that Q&A window. But for our back and forth, for our discussion, for our chatting, let's use the attendee chat. We've got many more countries. Hello, China. Hello, Bulgaria. Louisa is here. Great. Guys, we're going to focus the next hour on the recent examiner's report. It's a window into the mind of the examining team. What are they looking for? What do you need to do to get a pass? So we're going to be going through the examiner's report, and I'll be stopping along the way, talking about common mistakes, sharing lots of tips with you. So without further ado, let us jump in. Now, the examiner's report, if you haven't seen it, if you don't know about it, it's an awesome resource. You should be looking at that for all of your papers. And for PM, it really goes into great detail in each exam section. And we have specific examples from each section of the exam. So I thought that I would structure our webinar along the same way. We're going to go through section by section. So guys, let us jump right in. Let's look at section A of the exam. Now, as you know, you got section A, objective test questions. Section B, objective test questions. Section C, constructed response. Now, the exam approach I recommend, you're going to start here in section A, guys. Treat section A as a separate project, right? You're not trying to pass the exam. You're just trying to get 8 or more out of 15 correct in section A. So remember, the pass mark is 50%. So if you get 8 or more, you're doing well. Well, you're getting a pass. If you can get 10 or more, then you're getting a comfortable pass. Let's now talk about what you're going to do when you get into section A. Now, in section A, guys, you're going to see a mix of discussion, theoretical style questions, and numerical style questions where you need this, right? Your handy dandy scientific calculator. If you don't have one of these, you need the type, right, with the little window here so you can check your work before you press enter, okay? Very important little tip. Now, the first thing you're going to do in section A, you're going to go through the 15 questions. You're going to try and scoop up three or four of the easier theoretical questions. And even if they're not easy at first glance, they are less time consuming, right? So you want to pick up the easier, the less time consuming ones first. Now, anything that you're not sure about, you're going to flag it. Use that flag button and come back to it. Now, look at this one. This was a difficult question. And how can we make it a less difficult question? Well, what you don't want to do is panic. So the first thing we're going to do is read the question stem, the task. And we see which 2 of the following environmental costs would be better allocated as a result of introducing ABC, activity-based costing. Now, if you are in panic mode, if you are in fight or flight mode, we've all been there. That's when the lizard part of your brain, the amygdala, the oldest part of our brain, is in charge. When that part of our brain is in charge, we cannot be creative, we cannot be analytical. So very important to, guys, I've got so much to say. You got to rehearse this. After this, go into the practice platform, practice everything that I'm saying. So you're going to rehearse this so you're not panicking in the exam, so you're used to this situation. Now, students who panic, they look at this and they say, environmental costs. Oh no, I didn't study environmental costs. How can I ever succeed on this question? Oh no, I'm going to fail. No. You need to be in a curious state of mind, in a non-panicked state of mind. Now I look at this, okay, environmental costs, but activity-based costing is the same thing in any situation. Activity-based costing is about a precise allocation of our overheads. So when I think about activity-based costing, now I am ready to rock. And we learn about the company. They want to improve their image in regard to environmental issues. And they want to use ABC to better allocate their environmental costs. Now, I'm not going to look for the correct answer immediately. If you can eliminate one, that's just as good as finding a correct one. Guys, normal material losses. In the chat window, tell me if that's a direct or an indirect cost. Direct material, direct or indirect? I'm looking in the attendee chat. Guys, direct materials are a direct cost. ABC will not help us do anything with direct costs, environmental or unenvironmental. So I cross that one out. Now, do you see another direct cost in the list, guys? Which one of these is also a direct cost? Anything else there? What else do you see? What do you see? What else looks direct? Anybody? Oh, salary is usually indirect, you guys. Salary, a monthly cost that you have to then allocate to products. The supervisor. I like the hourly wages. That one, right? The hourly wages. That one is clearly, or the most obvious direct cost. So guys, elimination, look at that. If you didn't even know about environmental costs, you could have scooped this one up. Salary costs of the supervisor, that's a classic indirect cost, and the training of the staff, another overhead. So those two would be correct. So guys, lessons we just learned. Don't panic, even if it looks difficult. Start by reading the question stem, read it carefully so you know what you're going for. Then you go back into the little story and eliminate before you go for the correct answers. Okay? Now, you're going to also get the trickier questions. In the grand scheme of things, you press next in your exam and look at this one. On the one hand, it's not a huge story, so we can process it quickly. But on the other hand, it's also fill in the blank, guys, and that can be a higher risk. So if this was the first question in your set of OT questions and you flagged it, I would respect that decision, okay? But you got to come back and go for it. Now, friends, look at this. The student who panics looks at this. How much will operating profit fall if sales volume drops by 20%? What do they want? Operational gearing. Oh no, I didn't study that. Oh no, I don't know that one. Oh no, it's over. No, get out of the panicked mindset. Keep reading. Be in a curious state of mind. You've rehearsed this before. Just keep reading. Are there any other clues? It calculates operational gearing by dividing contribution over operating profit. So guys, I don't know exactly what to do at first, but I'm going to use the scratch pad. I'm going to use scratch paper, and I'm going to now visualize what they just told me. So they said, remember, operational gearing, there's no accounting standard on that. It could be variable costs over fixed costs over total costs, contribution over profit. Any way you're expressing the cost structure of the company. So they did it this way, and I plugged in the numbers. Look at that. Now, what happens, guys, if activity drops? That's going to impact contribution, isn't it? But fixed costs don't change on activity. You guys agree with me there that fixed costs are not going to change? So now I expand my thought process a bit more, and I'm like, wow, look at that. In between my contribution and my profit is a fixed cost. And now I see what I need to do. Contribution will be affected by a change in volume. Fixed costs will remain fixed. Because it's percentage terms, everything is relative at this point. So in relative terms, look at that. If the contribution drops by 20%, the drop is 0.8. Okay? Fixed costs are going to stay the same. And now we got a 68. Now here is the risk, my friends. I have been marking people's work for weeks, and I'm looking at the objective test and the section B questions. If this was multiple choice, that 68 would be one of the answers. And then we'd go, boom, we got it, 68. Yeah, it's in the list. Yeah, I got it right. But friends, they didn't want the new profit. They wanted the relative change, right? So what's a 100 percentage points to 68, guys? That's a 32% drop. So the answer is 32. Okay. So friend, right on, Sajihad. Team, the next lesson that we have learned. The lesson that we have reinforced, you don't panic. The lesson we've reinforced, you read carefully. The new thing is to have to sketch things out, to visualize. Now, the model answer also can be a little confusing because the model answer is just the words written out. And when I read it, I did it first my way, and then I checked, and then I had to really think about what the model answer said. But this one made it's easier to visualize it. Okay? So there you go. Now, this is a standard approach to dealing with numbers, to dealing with performance measurement. So you got to be able to sketch it out, think on your feet, change the thing that changes, resketch the P&L, and get to the solution, guys. And yeah, guys, I can't, you can get these slides and everything that I'm saying you can find in the examiner's report, okay? Quickly, fixed cost, Lucy. It's the difference between contribution and profit, okay? That's some assumed knowledge from MA, right? Contribution minus fixed costs is profit. And we do it as a balancing figure, as one of our colleagues very, very astutely said. Guys, moving on. Example 3. Now, friends, now it's getting heavy. you need to get 8 out of 15 correct. If you can get 10 out of 15 correct, you're doing great. So guys, go for 10. Now, this would be quite a tricky one because it's variance analysis, because it's another fill in the blank. So if you flagged this one and did it at the end, I would respect that decision. Now, what is the total? Again, let's practice. We read the little bit, the task, the question stem first. What is the total favorable sales quantity variance? Now, friends, if you are sketchy on variance analysis, reading the story is not going to clarify things for you. It's going to make it more complicated, okay? So this is an example of a difficult question. And the first thing that I'm going to do is just step back and look at the big picture. And I'm going to remember the sales quantity variance is a breakdown of the sales volume variance. Assumed knowledge from MA. Now, we're talking about variance analysis. I'm going to do a little segue here. I apologize. You will not be able to learn this in the final week. You can only tackle these difficult topics like variance analysis and transfer pricing when you are non-panicked, when you are in a calm state of mind, when you can clear and focus. So I highly recommend after our webinar, you go into your study plan and you do variance analysis, difficult revision first. Okay, now, I know that the difference between budgeted and flexed contribution is the sales volume variance, okay? I know that. I also know that I see we sold more units, didn't we? I see the total 500. I see the actual units, 5,000, 6,000. So if it was a multiple choice, I would be able to guess now, and I'd be able to get 50%. But I can't do that. They told me this. So I remember that the way to quickly solve for the sales quantity variance, well, let's get rid of what we don't need. We don't need actual, because the flexed and the budget is going off of standard cost per unit. Now, once I visualize where I'm going, I remember all I got to do in between budgeted contribution and flexed contribution is park a revised budget, right? Anytime we break down a variance, you got to put one more number in between the two existing numbers, right? So I do that. And I know the change in units is quantity. The other thing is the sales mix. So at this point, after I think, after I visualize, I know what I need, and I got to get the budgeted contribution. And look at that. I got budgeted units. I've got standard contribution per unit. And look at that. All I do is the budgeted units by the standard margin, and I get my original budget, okay? Now, did sales increase or decrease? Look at that. It increased from 5 to 6. So I just multiply by 6 over 5. And the difference is the 6220, favorable. Now, guys, I know what you were thinking. Steve, you could have just done it 1 over 5, and you are correct. But I wanted to show you my visualization process, my complete thought process. Okay, so this would have been a difficult one. I personally would have flagged this one. I would have done it at the end, but then when I came back to it, I would have just done it in a step-by-step approach, following my template, just like I practiced. Guys, I just took you through 3 OT questions. To recap, exam approach, you start in section A, 50 minutes, 50 minutes. Go through it, do the easy ones first, go back through it, see if you can get most of them done. Things that are difficult, things you're not sure about, you flag it, do a logical guess if you can, come back later. That's the time management there. You got to read the question stem carefully first. Always do that. Easy things first, difficult ones later. Now, eliminate when you're guessing in the theory or when you're working through the theory, always eliminate the distractors and work with templates. Friends, the way to get good at section A is to go into the study hub. Everything you need is there. So go into the study hub, do section A questions there. Okay, section B. Guys, section B, it's objective test questions, okay? Just like section A, the answer has to be correct. Eliminate things first, fill in the blank versus multiple choice, fill in the blanks a bit later. Okay, now look at this. In section B, you get a little story. As you know, a little scenario. I recommend you do section B at the end of the exam, okay? You go A, C, B. I find B can be the most, can be difficult. There's a big disparity between the difficulty levels of those questions. So go A, you get warmed up in A, then you do constructed response. Now you're getting a bit fatigued. You're going to come back here and you're going to go through and you're going to pick the easiest scenario first. You have 3 scenarios and you're going to give yourself 17 minutes per scenario. Section A, 50 minutes. Section B, 17 minutes per scenario, okay? Now you're gonna go through there and you're gonna do the easy ones first, scenario by scenario. Look at this one. Using activity-based costing, what is the machine setup cost for a rock guitar? Fill in the blank. Guys, that's not intellectually challenging. It's a lot of work. We've got to find the cost pool. We've got to find the cost driver. In this case, setups. We've got to then get the number of setups based on the batch size. Then we've got to get a cost per driver, allocate it to this product. We can do it, but it's a lot of work. Or I can keep moving through. Look at this one, people. Match the most appropriate cost driver to the activities identified. Team, in the attendee chat window, what looks easier? This one or this one, people? Which one looks easier? Obviously, Steve, example 2 looks easier. So friends, we can quickly do this one. Material movements, well, that will go with material handling, okay? That's the only obvious choice. Purchase orders goes with procurement, a synonym for purchasing. Machine hours will go with maintenance. Warranties, customer service, service requests, IT support. So you're going to logically do your dragging and dropping. Okay, guys? Ooh, Purvis says both can be done easily. Well, I would say that example 2, we can do faster. Okay, so friends, for your section B, you're going to allocate 17 minutes for each scenario, and then you're going to do the easiest one first. When you get into there, you're going to pick the easiest question first, because you only need 3 out of 5 for the pass. So friends, if you can get 3 out of 5, then you can do the 4th one, you can guess on the 5th one, or you leave the 5th one blank and you go to the next scenario. You are scooping up marks. Guys, there's 3 scenarios in section B. Okay, you got 3 scenarios, someone just asked. Now, 17 minutes. When time is up, you move on. 3 out of 5 is a pass. Once again, a really broad disparity between the questions. The first one could be throughput accounting ratio for 2 products. The last one could be, how could we improve the throughput accounting ratio? So last one easier. Now, guys, section C, I recommend you give yourself 34 minutes for each of these scenarios. You want to have a quick look at each one, and you want to pick the one that looks nicer to you. Look at this. We have further processing, a short-term decision, or we have the building block model, writing skills, writing, lots of writing, calculating for 11 marks, writing for more marks here. Friends, you're always going to read the little verb. Now, they give us a spreadsheet here, but you must read the little, read the task. And it's not calculate, people, it's advise. I can't highlight that word, but it's advise the production manager. So you're going to get a mark for giving the advice. So remember to always read and do what they ask you to do. Next, they ask you to give a production plan. Okay? Now, there are so many examples of spreadsheet exam technique in the ACCA YouTube student support channel. There are great tutors out there helping you for free on the internet. You can check out my YouTube as well, and you can get so many question debriefs on how to deal with the spreadsheet. We don't have time to do a deep dive into it, but you must engage with the student support YouTube and check out some question debriefs. And when you do the mock exam, you can do that as well. Okay, I'll take you through spreadsheet work there as well. Okay, but most important, you must lay out your steps before you start in the spreadsheet. Is that crystal clear, people? You don't freestyle in the spreadsheet. So look at this. I'm doing a revised budget. In order to do a revised budget, I got to get the cost per unit. That's going to turn into the budgeted costs for the month. And from that, I'm going to do the revised budget. So I set everything up before I start. Okay, guys? Now, I'm going to logically do the work in small pieces. Guys, small pieces. The bigger your formula, the more likely it is to have an error, okay? So you do it step by step. If you don't know how to do something, try something and then keep working off of that. Look at this. So this student got the cost per unit incorrect, okay? So they're gonna lose credit in step one. However, everything they do with that number afterwards will be assumed correct, because P14 is what we have over here. P17 is this. So do not panic if you don't know how to do a particular step. I was marking a mock exam, and then I had to give the students some feedback because they said, oh, I failed. I'm sure I failed because I didn't know learning curve. Oh, I didn't know the learning curve, so I couldn't do it. But it was a pricing question. The learning curve was only for the time for labor. You could have just assumed the labor time and done everything and got a comfortable pass even without the learning curve. That's what's happening here, own figure rule, okay? So lay out your work, small chunks. The markers will look into the cell. They'll see what you're doing. And if you make a mistake, it will be assumed correct as you keep going. Guys, writing skills. When I'm working with resitters, this is usually one of the things that turns a 48 into a 52, dealing with this. Now look at this. Discuss the benefits for Daisy of investing in an ERP. The student who got the 48 didn't really engage with the marks, didn't really engage with this because they were so focused on the spreadsheet. But remember, marks in the writing are just as good as marks in the spreadsheet. So this is what I'm going to do. A discussion requires sentences to develop your ideas, complete ideas. So I'm not going to work with sentence fragments. And to get organized, 6 marks, I'm going to give 6 ideas. And I'm going to start off with a very succinct explanation, what's an ERP, but that's not going to be the only thing that I do. I'm going to talk about benefits, okay? And I'm going to make the benefits specific to this company. So in the story, they said their information is out of date. So it's going to give us up-to-date info. It's going to improve the accuracy of the information. It's going to help us make better decisions, like this further processing decision. It's going to help us reduce our costs. Guys, I was looking for 6 marks. I thought of 5 things to say. That's enough to get started. Now, look what I do. I start writing in complete sentences. ERP, this is a centralized computer system. The whole company can access the system, single system, many modules, for example, HR, accounting. Now, look at this. I link it to the little story. This is an improvement over the department level spreadsheets they currently use. Once the purchasing manager enters the info into the ERP, all departments will have instant access. No one has to wait for a department to update their spreadsheet and email it around. Guys, I'm linking to the story. I'm writing in simple, short sentences. No one will judge my grammar. No one will judge my spelling. And then I'm just going to continue along like that. Short, punchy little sentences. Okay? You can check this out in the slides. You guys can download the slides. You can check that out. So guys, the quick tips that you need. You got to start practicing immediately. After this webinar, start practicing. Learn spreadsheet exam technique. It's not so bad. This is what they're saying in the examiner's reports. You got to have basic spreadsheet skills. You don't have to have advanced. You got to know the basic functions, the basic operators. Equal effort to the discussion parts. That is a key, resitters, to unlocking a pass. Now, when you're writing, link your answer to the little business in the story. That's what they said you need to do in both of those questions. That was key advice from the examiner. In section C, link to the little story. On top of that, structure your answer on the number of marks, a 6-mark discussion. Go for 6 ideas. If you can't think of 6 things to say, 4 or 5. Now, this is a new tip. I want you to make a study plan now, right after our webinar. And I'm going to show you what that looks like in a moment. Okay? Guys, I recommend you get into the student study resources. There's so many great things for PM there. Right there, take a screenshot of that with your phone. That's a playlist. I think there were 30-something videos in there, right, that are just directly relevant to what you're about to face in 3 weeks. Guys, study plan. Right after this webinar, the PDF is in your exam resources. I want you to print this out and decide what you're going to do every day between now and the exam, okay? Between now and that exam. If you have lunchtime free, do OT questions. If you have an evening free, do a constructed response question, okay? But you got to be doing things every day at this point. That is so important. Now, if you're resitting, I suggest study in mornings. We have a tendency to do our studying in the evenings, but the mornings are better. Guys, mock exam is the next thing that you have to do. People, when is the mock exam for PM coming out? That is so important for rehearsal. Okay, guys, everybody try this quiz. When is the mock exam going to come out? Guys, when is that mock exam coming out? What? Come on. If you're not sure, you can guess. Practice your guessing, people. Guys, you got it right. The mock exam is already there. I already looked at it. It looks beautiful. It's so cool. So people, now you get into the practice platform. You've got practice exam 1, you've got practice exam 2, you've got the mock exam 3, full simulations. Very important for your exam success to simulate the experience. Now, we also have debrief videos. I'm taking you through difficult questions in all of the sections. Guys, when is the mock exam debrief coming out? Any ideas? Take your guess. Waiting. Come on, people. What do you think? What do you think? Right on. Everybody is correct. In a week, guys, next week, you get the debrief videos. So There you go. And I'm very proud of that video. There's so many tips packed into there, people. All my tips you can find in that video. So highly recommend. Do the mock exam under exam conditions, A, C, B with a stopwatch, and then go through it, then take a break, and you can then debrief your work. Guys, there you go. That's how you're going to get a pass on your PM exam. That's everything that I learned in the examiner's report, plus some of my tips sprinkled in there as well. And remember, you're not going to study well in a panicked state of mind. You're not going to do well in the exam in a panicked state of mind. So start practicing questions early. Rehearse the process. Let's now check out your questions, guys. All right, someone got a 49 and is resitting. Tota, I can relate to that. I had to resit financial reporting several times, okay? But I got through it finally by making a study plan and by practicing questions early in the morning and learning about exam technique. But you have something special that I didn't have. You got my exam performance review. So you need to go into your account and you've got to find your performance review. It's going to tell you what section of the exam you did poorly in. It's going to tell you what type of question, what syllabus area. So if you have a marginal fail like that, you know, that's a little bit of exam technique, a little bit of bad luck, right? You got a difficult pair of questions in section C. So just focus on what you did badly on, and you should just be doing questions now. So if you did not so well in section A, make sure you're hitting those section A questions. If you didn't do great in section C, make sure you're learning, practicing exam technique in spreadsheet. If it was time management, make sure you're practicing the approach. You know, practice the going through section A in 50 minutes. Let me take a technical question. Variance analysis, the most difficult part of the syllabus. Now, I want you to remember, keep a broad focus on the syllabus, keep a broad focus on the topics. If you go through the past exams, you see variance analysis is tested in two ways. Conceptually, it's also tested application, interpretation. The production manager got an adverse price, materials price, operational variance. What does that mean? You can do very well in variance analysis in one study session if you just go through all of the variances and just step back. What does this number tell me? Remember, variance analysis is about control. What should have happened, what did happen, why. Every variance is answering a different part of why. So if you can do that part of variance analysis, you're going to get 8 of the marks in constructed response, because there's usually, if not always, a big interpretation part. And then you're going to be able to do well in the OT questions. Okay. Now, I recommend for the numbers, you've got to learn templates. And I can't do the templates with you now. I don't have a whiteboard. I explain it in my YouTubes. It's explained in the Study Hub. Okay, so I would recommend you practice with templates. When you see the materials yield variance, you know how to lay out a template. So you plug your numbers in and you can work quickly. Okay, so that's, for me, it's templates. Now, I see a question here. What type of question should we expect most in section C? Guys, we cannot take a guess. You got to study the whole syllabus, okay? You got to study everything. We can't take a guess. But I will tell you this: performance evaluation. That comes up a lot, right? So you got to know performance evaluation. Here's a story about a company. Here are the numbers from this year, from last year. Here's some non-financial information. Okay, so make sure you can work with that type of a scenario. There are numerous examples in the Study Hub. Now, that one links to the next question. I'm weak in financial and non-financial performance measurement. How do I overcome that? Well, first of all, I want you to work through past exam questions now. Don't just print out financial statements and practice calculating ratios. I don't think that's the problem. What you need to be able to do is look in the story. For example, in this last exam, they wanted you to come up with metrics for an airlines. So you look at the story and you say, what is this airlines all about? Oh, it's a low-cost airline, not premium. This means you can't put the prices up, can you? Because it's very elastic price demand if you put the prices up. So what could we do to measure financial performance? And if you look in the story, they mention that their objective, right? Their seat bookings are below average. So if they can increase their seat reservations, oh, they're going to get more sales. So then we could recommend a metric to go with that. If we have an objective to increase the sales of our online seat reservations, let's measure the change in that. So I recommend you learn by doing past exam questions here. And you have a lot of questions in the Study Hub that take you through the ratios. So it's really about question practice there. And I also showed you just half an hour ago, you need to be able to think on your feet. If they give you numbers that look unfamiliar, sketch it out, visualize. How does this fit? What could go in between A and B? Is there a balancing figure? I'm looking at your questions, friends. Someone here is a chronic resitter. I feel your pain, chronic resitter. This is your fourth resit, okay? At some point, you need to go to the doctor if you're really sick, right? If you're not getting better, you go to the doctor. Patricia, I recommend you do a paid mock exam with one of the many providers, okay? Get a tutor, get your work marked. Have someone to give you specific advice, okay? Something is not working. What you also need to do is look at your My Exam performance over the last sittings. Is it a pattern? What's the root cause? Is it section A over and over and over? Is it one syllabus area over and over and over? So you really got to dig into the data, find the problem, fix the problem, get some professional advice at this point. And your question there is very specific. Should I start doing OT questions and then B and then constructed response? You got to start with what you're doing badly according to your performance review. Okay, start in the section where you need work. Here's someone asking about, is it normal to feel panicked? Is it normal to be stressed out? Absolutely, people. Managing the stress is a great skill to attain, and that's going to help you pass your exams. I recommend you do what firefighters do, what policemen do, what first responders, ambulance personnel, first aid providers do. They work in stressful places too. What do? Rehearsal, simulation. So they know what to do when they show up at the car crash. They don't have to figure it out. They have muscle memory. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. That's what you need to do. And you do that by rehearsal, by exam technique, by execution of the exam approach. Go through A, go through C, go through B. Okay, guys? That's how you overcome the exam stress, is by rehearsal and simulation. You show up in that exam hall and you're ready to go. Now, guys, if you're doing the exams at home, very important, set up that exam workspace early. Practice in it so there are no surprises on exam day when you meet that invigilator, right? You just got to follow all of those rules about your workspace. So just do that early. Set that up. Don't wait 15 minutes before the exam starts. Oh, guys, I need to use the kitchen table. Can you guys all clear out of here for the next 3 hours? No. Set everything up beforehand. Richa, we're running out of time here. I'm going to take 1 or 2 more questions here. Let's see what we got. Let's talk about the study plan. Guys, this is the last question. Last 20 days. What you need to do, block out your free time every day. Don't just say to yourself, I'm going to study every day. That's too broad, too general. Block out your free time. I can't tell you how to do that. Everybody has a different constraint on their time. Now, in small blocks of time, if you can block out half of your lunch break 3 times a week, you could hit a handful of OT questions. If you can block out a couple of early mornings, get up at 5:30 instead of 6:30. Set up your study area. Just wake up, hit a couple of constructed response questions. On the weekend, get up early, do the mock exam, go for a bike ride, come back, check it, debrief it. Then in the next morning, wake up and do a couple of constructed responses around the area that you had a problem with. So block out your free time. In short periods of time, do OT questions. Longer periods of time, constructed response questions. Every weekend, do a simulation early in the morning. And also, you got to remember your mental health. You get diminishing returns on your study time. So in the evening, you've been studying for a couple of hours. If something doesn't make sense, put it down. Come back to it in the morning. Go study something else. Okay? In your study plan, right, in your life plan, you've got to also make sure you have time for your activities. I like to play music. Guys, I practice my banjo 45 minutes every day, no matter what. It's just, that thing can wait. Well, the webinar couldn't wait. Of course, I would always work with you guys on a webinar no matter what. Anyway, Richa, we are out of time. I had a fabulous, fabulous time working with our delegates. Would you like to say something? Close us down? Richa, you're on mute. Richa, you're on mute. Anyway, friends, unfortunately, we have a little technical trouble here. PM team, it was a fabulous webinar working with you. I wish you the best of luck. Make sure you download our resources and you can get the slides. Good luck on your upcoming PM exam, team.